whiskey lovers, welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host, Mark, and this is Whiskey Review number 151, the fifth part in the Canadian Whisky Series here on Whiskey Whistle, and that is going to be J.P. Wiser's 18-year-old Canadian whiskey. Let's get that opened. Again, another sample from my dear friend George, my esteemed older brother, as I call him. Now, I'm opening this one up simultaneously in the middle of my review of the Red Letter 2014 release. That way I don't have to wait as much time, when I'm doing the review. Okay, let's get that poured. Maybe a little more. There we go. And we'll set that one over here. Here it is. J.P. Wiser's 18-year-old. It's 40% ABV, but looking at the color, that is pretty much a coppery hue, isn't it? So pretty dark. And I poured myself a good amount there. So we're going to try that one out, and then we're going to compare this one with the Red Letter release. I've got a little bit left there, about 10 milliliters. And then we'll pour a little bit of Legacy and do a three-way comparison in the next review. All right, so 18-year-old. This has been sitting out for roughly 20 minutes, so much more than the minimum of 1 minute per year of aging. 1 minute in the glass. Keep that in mind. Let's check out the nose. It really is much more aged. There's a leatheriness coming through here that I normally associate with Scotch whiskey, but I'm getting that here. As far as Canadian whiskey goes, this is a little bit dissimilar to what my nose can identify as Canadian whiskey, and this is a little bit more similar to older scotches, older Scotch whiskies, older Scotch blends, and even some malts that I've tried before. It's leathery, it's waxy, a little bit of wood, a little bit of polished furniture wood. There's sweetness there. It's fairly generic. I don't get a lot of rye coming here. Very minimal. But a bit of maltiness. It really does smell like just nicely aged 18-year-old whiskey. Very interesting. Maybe some bookshelves? Very old volumes, encyclopedias from like 1960 or something. What else? A little bit of a kind of a creamy coffee dessert. So something with coffee and some heavy cream, maybe set into a jello. So add some gelatin to some heavy cream with a bit of coffee and sugar. Really nice. Now, it could definitely use a little bit more power behind it. 40% is a little bit minimal, but there's enough to smell here that you really get a sense of what does older Canadian whiskey smell like. Now, I'm really curious about the 20 and also the 30-year-old Canadian whiskeys that are out there. Okay, let's check that out on the palate. We'll have a short word from the YouTube sponsors right here. Welcome back to JP Weiser's 18-year-old. Let's check out the Palate Neat. Cheers, everybody. Isn't that lovely? With ginger and cinnamon. Again, not a lot of rye spice happening here, but it's definitely a spicy, subtle sweetness with a bit of tart, a little bit of tartness, still predominantly sweet, but some tartness, a little bit of dryness as well, and a fairly big spice component here of cinnamon, a little bit of ginger. No clove this time. Despite it being 40%, it really gives your mouth a lot to play with. There's even a syrupy mouthfeel to it. A little bit of oiliness. And I'm left with that very, very sweet kind of effect that happens in the far reaches of your mouth after you have an overly sweet dessert, for example. So again, still very much a sweetie. Hint of that leather's coming through on the palate, which I like a lot. Some coffee liqueur. Hint of chocolate there. Again, kind of a creme brulee, milky, sweet. Just a very nice flavor that I'm getting here. Maybe even a little bit of Earl Grey tea, especially in the finish. Now, when I taste these for the first time on camera, I cannot really go through the smell, taste, and finish separately. They're all kind of mashed together. So a little bit of Earl Grey, orangey, fragrant sweetness with a bit of dryness coming through in the finish now. Very long finish for a Canadian whiskey. This is exceptional. I'm really liking that coffee effect that I'm getting here. Now it's 40% ABV, so I'm going to add just a little bit of water. We'll see what happens with that. And then we'll check out the nose, the palate, and the finish with water. We'll talk about the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score, and then we'll wrap this up promptly and get started with the three-way Weiser's comparison of the Legacy, Red Letter, and the 18-year-old. Of course, I'm missing a few other, I think there's a small batch that should be added there. And there's also a Borders Weiser's that's coming out soon. Okay, we'll have another short little advertisement right here. Okay, welcome back. JP Weiser's 18-year-old Canadian whiskey now with a little bit of water added. Let's see how that compares on the palate, on the nose, and on the finish. Well, the nose, the finish, the nose, the palate, and the finish, I should say. Someone's a little bit tired. That someone would be me. Much more leathery. Much more polished furniture, polished wood furniture. A little bit of sweetness in there. Interestingly, this reminds me a lot of Glenfiddich, the pure malt. especially that leathery component. Okay, let's check out the palate. Cheers. So the sweetness gets subdued, leaving you with a little bit better access to the spices and that dryness that's evident here. Yeah, a little bit more ginger now. It's still sweet, a little bit less so, and that's nice. All right. So how about the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for J.P. Weiser's 18-year-old? Pretty nice. I think I'm going to go with 89 out of 100. That's the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for J.P. Weiser's 18-year-old, 40% ABV, but there is a certain quality that's coming through here being aged for 18 years that you don't find in the younger versions. And I really like that. Okay, so 89 out of 100, that's the WhiskyWhistle score for J.P. Weiser's 18. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the roundup that's next, and we will see you for that. Don't forget to subscribe and check out Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at WhiskyWhistle. Check it out. Also, watch for the relaunch of the WhiskyWhistle website very, very soon. Take care now.